Recording started.
All right, good morning, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about cross-curricular wellness themed projects. I am Kate Huber from Erie One BOCES, and Sarah Whiteway is with me here as well. So what are cross-curricular themed projects? They really aim to integrate wellness into multiple areas of the curriculum, and they provide opportunities to learn about wellness while also improving students' academic skills. So today we're going to talk about what are the benefits of these types of projects, what are some tips for implementation, and then I'm going to actually get into some of the project ideas because that's really what the webinar is all about. So first, benefit is enhanced learning. When students are able to integrate different subjects, they can see how different ideas and concepts are connected, and they're more likely to then retain that information and be able to use the information. For example, we could do a project on food systems and talk about food deserts and zoning laws, imports and exports, the supply chain, regional crops and farming, marketing and promotion. So these could all be different subject, different content areas, but they're all around the same theme of food systems. Another benefit is really increased engagement. It can provide opportunities for hands-on project-based learning, which is really more meaningful and relevant to students. They're able to see how what they're learning actually applies to their own world, their own life. How often do we hear from students, when am I ever going to use this? When we do this type of project, students don't need to ask that question because they're able to see how it applies to the real world. It also gives lots of opportunities for collaboration between students, but also teachers as well. Teachers very often feel like they can be siloed, stuck in their own classroom. When we have cross-curricular projects, teachers are able to learn from each other as well, improve their collaboration. Students can improve their communication skills, learning to work with different types of people, different perspectives. Anytime we put students in teams, there's a lot that they can learn from that. And then personalized learning. Again, similar, a lot of these projects allow students to explore their own interests and passions, making it much more meaningful to the student. They can also make it much more specific to their own school. And later on, we're going to show some examples of how that might be able to happen. And then preparation for the real world. When we give students a project that they need to solve for their own school, they're much more involved in it. When they need to work with lots of different people to solve complex school problems, sometimes they really surprise you and they're able to solve some problems that maybe the adults in the building couldn't figure out how to do. They needed that student voice to help it be successful. That also gives students the confidence once they leave school to solve other complex problems and other issues that they might have, whether it's in a college class or in the workforce. So tips for implementation. Definitely plan ahead. How can different subjects be integrated? And what are the learning objectives for each subject? And how can they be connected? It's sometimes, say you're a math teacher and you want to integrate with the health teacher. Sometimes it's easier to have a project in mind rather than trying to just have two subjects that want to collaborate and come up with the project. Sometimes that can feel forced. You also need to be really flexible. Cross-curricular projects require flexibility and adaptability, especially if it's the first time that teachers are collaborating on a project. Timing might need to change. Maybe the science teacher thought that the students could finish their part of the project in 3 class periods, but it's actually taking 5. They need to be able to adjust and be flexible. Maybe even changing the project itself once they get into it. Also important, set very clear expectations. This is true of what the students are expected, but also having that communication and those expectations very clear with the other teachers that you're working with as well. And be sure to communicate those clearly throughout the project. And then provide feedback. Regular feedback throughout the project helps the students stay on track, improve their work, see if they need to make any changes. Again, same with the other teachers, provide feedback and communicate regularly on how things are going. And really important, and these are the two steps that very often people forget or don't make time for when they're doing something new, and that's really celebrating their success. It can be really hard sometimes to do this multidisciplinary cross-curricular project. The benefits are huge. And once you do one, celebrate it, showcase it to the school community, present to the school board on it, let parents know about it, and then reflect on the process. What went well? What should be changed for next time? Have that reflection, not just with the adults that were part of the process, but with the students as well. All right, now we're going to get into some project ideas. Many of these might seem like middle school or high school ideas, but they can easily be modified to the lower grades. Sometimes it's more of a stretch for middle school and high school to collaborate on projects because they're really separate classes with separate teachers. At the elementary grade, it's a little bit easier because it's all the same teacher to make a project that pulls in different content areas. So I wanted to focus on middle school and high school because those are the ones that just require a little more thinking outside of the box. So wellness and social studies, again, talking about food systems, talking about what are some regional crops in the area? What are the most popular food exports for our local area? In New York, we have a lot of local crops. Mainly, I think about grapes and apples, but we also have a lot of other regional produce that might be transported from farm country in Wilson to the city of Buffalo. It doesn't necessarily have to be an export that's going to another country. It can be even just a regional export. And have the students research the supply chain then of an entire meal, map the origins of every ingredient, record the people, activities, resources that are involved from farm to fork. So at the elementary level, that can be something very simple, like a salad could be an entire meal. For older students, it could be tikka masala or, something that has a lot of spices and a lot of other ingredients involved in it. Then health and art, this to me is a really easy one that can be implemented K through 8 or K through 12 rather. Looking at health promoting advertisements, thinking about media literacy. This could also pull in the school librarian as well. Looking at different types of ads for health promoting products and for unhealthy products. How do they differ between the two? What kind of money goes into them? That could pull in the finance and the math part of it. And then having students create their own advertisements that are specifically designed for students. In health, music, and ELA, students can analyze the lyrics and messages of popular songs. What are they doing to promote healthy choices or to encourage or normalize unhealthy choices? I know in many health classes, they do this same type of thing, but they'll do it around drugs or the sexualization of women. There's a lot that can really be done with lyrics, and students love music. They're very into music. Every student has some type of music that they enjoy. So when you give students the option to pick whatever song they want and have to analyze it, they're going to be engaged in it. And health and business, thinking about financial fitness and financial literacy is definitely part of health. And having students make the connection between financial problems and actual physical health problems, whether they're physical or mental health. A lot of financial problems can lead to depression and anxiety. Have students learn about what is that relationship between debt and blood pressure. There's a couple links here to articles that students could use to help learn a little bit more about it. Healthy eating and math. Again, this is another very easy one. Healthy eating on a budget. Have students plan a meal. You give them a budget. They have to plan a week's worth of healthy meals. They can research the recipes, create the shopping lists, have them actually look at the fractions that are involved in the recipe. If they are going to make, pancakes for 4 people and the recipe needs to be doubled, what kind of math needs to go into that? If you can, take them to a neighborhood market to check the prices, have them do some real world shopping for it. Or there's all kinds of virtual grocery stores as well. You could also go on and look for prices there. And then work with your school cafeteria. This is a perfect way to have some of the students learn about the school cafeteria, what the food service director needs to do to plan the school meals on a regular basis, how they have to stay within these healthy guidelines. They have a very specific budget. This can also turn into students then helping to inform what meals are served in school as well. So there's lots of different ways that this can be extended for additional learning at all grade levels. Wellness and art, this is another easy one. Students can create healthy food collages, design fitness themed posters, illustrate the importance of hygiene and dental care. You could have them, even in music, create a song about it, develop a dance that has the ideas of healthiness and wellness in it. And then thinking about psychology and business, right? How do we design things for healthy choices? Thinking about, our grant is all about policies and systems and environments, and how when you improve the environment, you improve the choices that people make. Have students really research. McDonald's is a great example, and there's lots of literature out there about the things that McDonald's does to encourage people to choose the unhealthy products. So students very much don't want to be manipulated. So this can be not only a lesson in, behavioral economics and behavioral psychology, but also a real learning and awareness for them, how these different products are intentionally marketing to them and manipulating them. And everyone knows McDonald's. The majority of students have probably eaten at McDonald's or are close to a McDonald's. So it is something that's relevant for all students. But you could then have them design their own restaurant menu, grocery store, food truck, whatever sort of area that has to deal with food. They could redesign the school concession stand to have students pick healthier options. And then they can in turn bring that back into the school. How can they update and make their own school cafeteria more like a restaurant, make it more inviting so that middle school and high school students will want to eat breakfast and lunch in the school cafeteria, take advantage of the school meal programs. We see very often a huge decline in the number of students participating in school meal programs in middle school and high school. So if students can be involved in revamping their own school cafeteria, maybe they'd be more likely to take advantage of the school meals then. A walking school bus is another great example of something that would not only be a great project for students to learn, but something that could actually then be implemented for the elementary school. You could have middle school and high school students developing this, working with the younger elementary students. This obviously works best if it's all in the same campus. Maryvale is an example of that. But for gifted and talented, they could research and design a walking school bus. In tech, they can create the website or the brochure as a design, design a social media marketing campaign Develop an app so parents can say whether their students are going to be taking the walking school bus that day. Research the environmental impact of less vehicles on the road. How does that impact not only environment, but asthma rates in students as they're not breathing in that exhaust from the school bus? And then what could be the financial savings to the district of having a walking school bus? Thinking about health and business and social studies, big pharma, right? There's a lot that goes into the pharmaceutical industry. They can research the history. How do they promote or prevent health disparities? How do they market to different groups? How do they influence public policy? So there's a lot that teachers, like in government and social studies and business, they're already talking about a lot of these concepts, but they're not always relating it to health industries. So if you can make it about health industries, students are able to learn a little bit more. They're able to see in the real world, maybe how their parents are affected by their health insurance or lack of comprehensive health insurance. Thank you. Are there any questions, thoughts, ideas? Lori, feel free